Warning, there are people pretending to be me in the comments. This is what a comment from me looks like. Notice that the name is spelled perfectly, and notice the border around the name. That's how you know it's from me. You can also click on my name to make sure you actually go to my channel to double check. And this is what a comment from an imposter will look like. It has weird characters in the name or comment, and it's usually going to ask you to add them on WhatsApp or Telegram. I don't have WhatsApp or Telegram, and I would never ask you to add me on there. All right, so please be careful, use your common sense, and now let's get back to the video. Hey, how's it going, GPU heads? Thanks for clicking on my video. 𝗧-𝗦𝗛𝗧𝗦 here, and today we're gonna be conducting a bit of an experiment on the channel. Here, let me show you what I mean. So, I have this sort of temporary mining rig that I put together here with just 4 1660 Ti's hooked up to an 800 watt power supply on its own motherboard. And this is what we're gonna do today. I'm going to try to see if I can lower the power consumption of this rig without sacrificing any sort of, hash rate performance. And I'm going to do that by trying it with this. And so specifically this. Now what this is a Intel low wattage CPU basically. And so on paper this CPU should pull about 22 watts less than the CPU that's currently in here right now. And not only that, but because this CPU pulls like less energy, that also means it doesn't get as warm, which means we can use this. So what this is a passive CPU cooler, which means it's just a giant heatsink with no fan on it. And so basically no fan, of course, also means less energy consumed. And so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna fire up the mining rig, and I've got my watts meter here, and we are gonna measure how much power does this rig pull, both when it's idle as well as when it is mining. And we're gonna write those numbers down. Then I'm gonna change the CPU in here for the new one, and I'm gonna change the cooler for the new one as well. And we're gonna see again how much power does this whole rig consume when it's idle and when it's mining. And then we're gonna see what the actual difference is. And now what I'm hoping for, let's say best case scenario that the whole rig actually pulls 20 watts less at, while mining, right? Then you may think, well, that isn't that big of a deal, just 20 watts. But let me put it to you this way, right? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 mining rigs going right now. But now let's say we can save 20 watts on each of these mining rigs, right? So that is 160 watts that we will be saving in total. And just to put that into perspective, like let's say you have a 1660 Super, right? And let's say that's pulling 80 watts, which is, kind of more than they pull. They kind of pull like 70, but let's say they pull 80 watts. So that basically means that you can put, like just by swapping the CPUs out, an additional 2 1660 Supers up and mining without increasing your energy cost at all. So you're basically getting an additional like 62 to 64 mega hash almost for free in terms of power. And not only that, it also means that your efficiency, your overall efficiency for your farm increases dramatically. And we all know mining profitability is sky high right now, but it might not always be as good as it is right now. And for those times when margins might be slimmer, if your whole farm, like the efficiency of your farm, the hash rate per watt that you're getting for your full farm, if that's higher during those times, that means you are basically going to be so much more profitable during those lower profit times. But enough waffling, let's get into the actual experiment, right? So I'm gonna turn this mining rig on. There it is. And we're gonna see how much power it pulls at idle and how much power it pulls while mining. Alright, so idle, it seems to be pulling around 62 watts, just above 60 watts basically. Okay, and we're up and mining now, so we are pulling just below 300 watts, 293 I'm gonna say. Yeah, 293. Alright, so now let's power this down and swap the CPU and CPU cooler. Now, before we get into the final results here, I just figured I'd show you how to actually find these CPUs for your motherboard. So the very best way to figure out like the CPU for your motherboard is to just Google your motherboard. So I've got my Asus Strix Z270F gaming motherboard typed into Google here. And then what you want to do is come down and find the official like manufacturer website for it. So I'm going to Asus's website here, so that's my motherboard, and then somewhere here on this product page you will be able to find like a list of all the compatible CPUs, and so it's usually under the support tab. So I'm clicking support, and yeah, here you can see we got a tab called CPU or memory support. So if I click there, you'll see it will go to CPU support, and here it will list all of the supported CPUs for this motherboard. And so what you're looking for is, well, most motherboard manufacturers will actually list the actual wattage of the CPUs right here, but if they don't, what you want to look for, it's the CPUs with a T at the end of the product number. So as you can see here, this Pentium G4500T only pulls 35 watts as opposed to the regular G4500, which pulls 51 watts, for example. So you want to just like go through this list, and basically here it lists all of these compatible CPUs, and you'll be able to find which ones to look for that are low power. And so then just Google all of them basically, or search on Amazon or whatever, and yeah, just like find the one that's available and at a decent price, right? And I also want to show you just this Arctic cooler. So this is the cooler that I bought. So you can see it's $20 and it's available right now on Amazon. So what I'll do is I will leave an affiliate link for this cooler in the description, as well as to the specific CPU that I got for my case. But just keep in mind that CPU might not be compatible with your motherboard, so you need to like Google the motherboard, just how I just showed you, right? But yeah, just full disclosure, like those will be affiliate links, which means that if you do make a purchase through those links, the channel gets a small commission at no extra cost to you. So it's a way to sort of support the channel here for free, more or less. But yeah, let's get into the final results, shall we? Alright, so the new CPU and cooler is in. So yeah, let's just fire this up and see what our results are. Alright, so the computer is idle now, and it seems And now we are pulling around 56 watts at idle. So that is definitely a reduction of around 7 watts, because we were at, you know, 60 to 63 before. So definitely a reduction, but now let's start the miner back up and see what the reduction would be like while mining. Alright, so we are up and mining now, and our wattage is at 285. So there's definitely a reduction from before. We were at 293, so yeah, I mean, not as much as I'd hoped for, of course, but that is still a 8-watt difference, which to me is still significant. And yeah, let's talk a little bit about this actually. Alright, now as you saw, we did get a reduction of about 8 watts in total while mining on the rig. And now, you know, some of you might say, well, 8 watts, that's nothing, like how is that even significant? And you're kind of right, because on just one rig, that kind of isn't really that big of a deal. However, when you add it up on multiple rigs, you know, it does add up in the end. And the thing is that, like, with the current price situation with just computer parts in general right now, I will be able to sell my current CPUs for about the same price that I will be able to buy these lower wattage CPUs plus the passive cooler. So in the end, like, I can basically do this swap for free, but end up with, you know, about 64 watts less total pulled by my farm, which basically means that I can put in another 1660 Super in my farm, you know, for free in terms of electricity cost, and gain another, you know, 32 mega hash in the farm without paying for any extra electricity, which to me is significant. Like, that is worth it, especially considering that I wouldn't lose any money by doing it, so why not, right? Anyway, that's gonna be it for this video. And if you enjoyed this or found it informative, then please give the video one of these. I'd really appreciate it. And what you gotta do now is you gotta click on that next video on the screen, because this video is over. You can also click the picture of my face to subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate that. But yeah, go click on that next video and I'll see you there. Goodbye. Bye bye. Goodbye. Bye bye.